All right, Miles, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints here for a little bit. The Saints have been one of the more active teams this entire offseason across the NFL. Of course, a lot of big moves. You look at Derek Carr bringing into the fold, everything they've done with Michael Thomas, some other moves as well. Of course, trading Sean Payton to get that draft capital. It looks like the Saints have made a lot of big moves and they're heading in the right direction. And we've got a new report that shows exactly maybe why the Saints were so aggressive this offseason and why they look to be extremely dangerous as we get closer to 2023.
Yeah, Nick, and the Saints have looked really good. There's a lot of, great signs about why they're going to come into the season and be a lot stronger this year than they were last year. But Nick, there's also been a lot of movement at the quarterback position for the Saints. And looking at that, that's why I want to know in the comments below for Saints fans, who's been your favorite backup Saints quarterback of all time? There's been a lot of really great options here. But I just want to know in the comments below, who's been your favorite of all time? And make sure to stay tuned at the end of today's video for a word from the partner of today's video, Neuro. But Nick, what is this good news for the Saints?
Yeah, so when the Saints began the offseason and started being so aggressive, I think it caught a few people by surprise. Of course, their cap situation isn't ideal. They managed to do a heck of a job working around it. But a lot of people figured the Saints maybe have not a tank necessarily, but have, had some cap casualties, maybe much more than they did. Maybe not so aggressive at the quarterback position for Derek Carr. Maybe rebuild for 2024 and 2025 and beyond potentially. The Saints instead went the other way. They were very aggressive, and it looks like, according to this latest report, they were very smart in doing so, Mize. And this is according to Sharp Football Analysis. They do a lot of analytic stuff. Very good follow, Warren Sharp on Twitter. If you don't follow him on already, highly recommend it. But Miles, can you throw up the graphic? Right here, you can see that the Saints have the easiest strength of schedule by far in the entire NFL. They're number one. You see them at the very top left. The Saints, you have the Falcons right behind them at number two, a little far behind, and then the rest of the pack kind of drops off. Miles, when I first saw this graph, it just light bulb went off. I'm like, oh, that's why you're really aggressive. That's why you went after and really upgraded the quarterback position. That's why you made sure to restructure Michael Thomas, right? That's why you brought some of these other guys in as well and focused really on the short term and kept that train rolling, even though your salary cap situation may not have led you to that direction originally, because you have a great opportunity in front of you. One, we know the division's up for grabs. The NFC South is far from spectacular. And number two, looking at the analytics here, looking at the reports for their expectations in terms of strength of schedule, they've got a really easy strength of schedule, outside the division as well. And you look at that, and that presents us the Saints with a great opportunity. And that's why I think Loomis and everybody running the organization made a really smart move, being as aggressive as they were this offseason. Mize, give me your thoughts on the Saints now that you know the whole picture here. Now that we understand, oh, okay, this is why they were so aggressive. They have a really easy strength of schedule.
Yeah, Nick, because when you sit back at first glance, it's easy to think, okay, Sean Payton's gone. We've got some draft picks. Maybe we just try to go into like rebuild mode and, go play to the draft, use our cap space smart. But then if someone sat you down in front of all of the analytics, in front of the projections and told you, hey, you have the best chance out of everybody to win the division and also make the playoffs. At that point, if you can make the playoffs, if you have a team that is capable of making the playoffs, Nick, it isn't crazy to say you get a couple luck of the draw things your way. If say you weren't the best team and make it to, an NFC championship game, make it to a Super Bowl, there's a lot of opportunity there. So what did the Saints do? They don't just go, okay, well, we'll rebuild and try to, see how our luck falls in the playoffs. No, they go all out and they say, hey, let's get everything we can do. We do have a lot of good draft picks. We do have a lot of salary cap that we have now floated around. The Saints seem to have been the salary cap is a myth when you talk to the Saints. I don't know how they do this, but they move numbers around and they get Derek Carr. They re-sign James Winston as a really good backup. You get Jamal Williams for the Lions, who is a really great touchdown guy, punch it in, short yardage running back, just great overall player. You re-sign Michael Thomas, the Juwan Johnson. This team is really shaping up nicely now. And you think, okay, well, we have a pretty solid team, but we have a really, really easy strength of schedule, a really good chance of getting, over, under, I think it's like 9.5 wins or something like that. We're in a really good place to make a strong playoff push now with this team, Nick. And I think that's really smart, like you said, by the Saints front office, by the organization to go, hey, we have a good opportunity. Let's not blow it by just trying to tank or go towards the draft or whatever the case may be. Let's try to see if we can make a playoff push here. And I really like the Saints. I like the confidence in this team, and I think it's going to pay off for them down the long run.
Yeah, mine's over the past week or two. We've done a lot of videos about the division rival of the Saints, of course, the Atlanta Falcons, and how they've made a lot of really smart moves. And you can see why they've done as well. And we talked about the Falcons being really smart. You talk about the Saints being really smart. And you look at this and you're like, yeah, this is exactly why. Because you look at the other teams, and some of these teams I would not put in the smart bucket. You look at teams like the Panthers, of course, the Colts, the Bears, the Texans, not some of your best managed franchises over the past few years. They have a very easy strength of schedule, but because how they set themselves up, they're all starting first-year quarterbacks. They seem to all be targeting rookie quarterbacks, or in the Bears' case, they're trying to get a young guy in Justin Fields working. You look at some of these other guys. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, Detroit Lions. They've been making big moves. They turn around. We look at the Lions, very, very smart under Holmes and Campbell. They've been very aggressive this offseason. The Jacksonville Jaguars have been very aggressive the past couple of years, as well as part of that new regime. So that's one of the things I always look for, Miles, when I look to say, okay, is a team doing something that's smart? I look at what other smart teams are doing in similar situations. And if they're doing the same thing, that's usually a good sign. And that's why when I look at the Saints offseason, I look at the strength of schedule, the light bulb immediately kicked. I'm like, okay, this is why they've been so aggressive. And credit to Loomis and company for seeing this weeks ago, because this was just reported this week, the strength of schedule numbers. But trust me, Miles, the NFL guys, they've been following this for weeks, if not months. And the fact is, the moment Loomis saw this, he's like, okay, this is our chance. Let's be aggressive. And credit to him for taking advantage of it. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner in today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big-time game-winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.